Welcome to another episode of the Unlimited Groomer. And today I am going to touch on something that by the time this airs, it'll probably be old news, but it's very big right now. And that is the very toxic social media trend that's gone viral that involves us groomers. And it is going into all aspects. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the passing of the mic from person to dog. I don't know the song. It sounds like it's an Eminem song. I like Eminem, so it doesn't make a difference what song it is. You've probably seen it. You probably made a video about it yourself, or you've seen other people make other videos about it. It is not okay. So y'all listen to me. You know that I am a fear-free certified professional. I'm on the Fear-Free Speakers Bureau. I am very passionate about incorporating mental and emotional well-being into my grooming practice. Why? Because I don't like wrestling baby alligators for a living. It's hard on me, it's hard on them, and quite frankly, nobody likes to have to be the person that has to get the angry, aggressive, or fear-reactive dog, right? It sucks. We all hate it. Also, advocating for the dog. We don't take an oath, but it's basically written down if you're part of the NDGAA, that you have a signed certificate that you have agreed to. But we all basically say, do no harm, right? That is an oath that our healthcare professionals have to take. It is a legally binding oath. We work in a non-regulated industry. So there's a lot of unspoken things that we're like, yes, we generally agree that this is right and this is wrong, but also we don't care who's going to stop me. Ha, ha, ha. And arrogance aside, this episode is about professional advocacy. What is it? What does it mean? What is our responsibility to ourselves, our clients, the dogs and cats in our care, as well as the industry as a whole. So professional advocacy is where we are advocating, meaning we are justifying, we are supporting why we are professionals in the first place. I see you, I hear you all the time in the social media groups. How do I raise my rates? Am I pricing myself okay? How should I sanitize this? There's so many unknowns that the blessing of our industry is that we get to go out and work for ourselves with very little startup capital, very little startup investment in our own personal and professional development, and just boom, hey, I'm a groomer, open for business. That's just as much of a blessing as it is so terrifying for our own personal health reasons, for our own legal reasons, for just so many things. And professional advocacy is where we are viewed not only by our clients, but also our peers, each other, as actual professionals. And one of the classes I teach is how to get over imposter syndrome, or how to work through it. Do we ever fully recover from it? I feel like it's kind of like, a whole like alcoholics thing. Like it's a disease, it's something that we always have. We're always having to just learn new ways of coping and just rely on our tools. We always are going to second guess ourselves, especially when there's no regulation. There's no rules saying this is absolutely the only way it is. We don't have that. We have hive minds. We have groups of thought and organizations that say this is a generally accepted principle. This is okay. This is not okay. So we have that. So that's a start. But we don't have anything across the board. We even differ in terms of health, in terms of sanitation, in terms of like things that you would think would be fundamental, basic, proven by science, which they have. Still amongst our industry, there's no set norms and set practices. Like we are completely in the wild, wild west. And so that's why there's such a really exciting, great push where so many people are pushing to say, I'm different, I'm professional, Here are my credentials. Here are my certifications. Here's how I operate. Here's this map. And I'll tell you, I preach this all the time. Transparency is going to be your number one best friend, because pet parents have no idea what we actually do. They have no idea what we go through on a day-to-day basis. They think Princess is a divine light being who could do no wrong, who is the sweetest thing in the world. And we're over here going, no, your princess is Lucifer in the flesh. So there's so much of a disconnection. And the more we talk about it, the more we advocate, the more we learn ourselves, the more we develop in our skills, our business savvy know-how, and our public speaking skills, so that we know how to, even if it's not to a crowd, one-on-one, having a communications. I just taught that class this weekend at the time of this recording at Buffalo, New York's first ever Pet Palooza. It's this is a popular class, how to communicate like a professional, handling client conversations like a boss, how to handle difficult conversations, how to handle things that are like, hey, just so you know, FYI, this is the new policy, these are the new rates. Handling like, oh, so it didn't turn out the way we wanted. There's a couple of nicks, like, and deliver this in a professional manner. So professional advocacy really encompasses a lot, and it is crucial to moving our industry forward. It is crucial to having your clients take you seriously, so that they're not calling you and texting you at all hours of the night, that they're not automatically expecting you to just squeeze them in whenever, so that they're not expecting you to underprice yourself all the time. Like professional advocacy, if you want to stop having all of those annoying conversations that you've had a million times, if you're frustrated, if you're over it, if you want to really be a professional, really earn a solid, really good living, if you want to advance your career, if you want to get over imposter syndrome and work through that, professional advocacy, invest in yourself by listening to podcasts, by reading up and studying other aspects that aren't related to grooming. And I'm not just talking business aspects and how to run a business and do your software and all that. I'm talking like training. And I'm not even just talking fear free. I'm talking about like animal psychology, animal behaviorism, anatomy, veterinary technician stuff, all that stuff. Start learning that, so that it boosts. I mean, how many times do we get asked about nutrition, or should I be feeding them this or that? We get asked that stuff all the time. Sorry about that. Dog's barking. But how many times do we get asked all these questions that we just take educated guesses at, right? Wouldn't it be great if you became the go-to guru, and you're not taking on a different profession? Like they're already asking us these questions. Wouldn't it be great if we actually knew that we knew the answer? And if you want to talk money, because let's face it, this is actually one of those rare fields where not everybody is truly money motivated, and that's cool. Like altruism, fantastic, but it doesn't pay my bills. So, and I can do more good with more money. The more money I have, the more I can donate. The more money I have, the more I can spend quality time with people, with clients, because Otis isn't as reactive. No, because then I can go, I'm less stressed. If a family member needs something, I can fly out if I need to, because I have the money. So money is useful. And far too often in our profession, because we have such a heart-centered work, we don't always think with our brain. We think with our heart. And in order to move ourselves forward, I really apologize about the barking. Odie, come on, come say hi. Come say hi. In order to move our profession forward, in order to have a better ease of life, look, people pay money when they feel like they're dealing with someone who is very qualified. I'm the most expensive groomer in my city, and people are easily handing me hundreds of dollars every month to care for their pet. And they've literally said, I did my research on you, or I've heard enough. No one's ever told me these things. I trust you completely. Obviously, you know what you're talking about. And I'm not blowing smoke. I'm telling them things they've never heard before. So rather than just fall into the gimmick and the rhetoric of every other pet groomer out there. Well, this is the way it is. Well, then you're never going to advance it. And hey, the more money you make, the more you can invest in your employees, invest in your salon, get better equipment, make your life easier, all these things, right? So that goes back to professional advocacy, how we portray ourselves and are seen instead of pet groomers who play with puppies, that we are, no, I am your dog. I'm part of your dog's essential overall being. We deserve the same level of respect as veterinarians and vet techs do. Yet we don't advocate for our profession. Well, if we don't advocate for it, if we don't care for it, who's going to? It's very rare that you, just a life lesson in general, it's very rare that somebody else is going to care about you more than you care about yourself. So I say this in every class I teach, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And we teach others how to treat us. So it starts with us. When I launched Club Posh, I said, I'm doing things drastically different than I've ever done before. And I don't see anybody else doing it either. And I had a lot of people tell me I'm crazy, tell me that it's not going to work, this, that. I'm in my 3rd year and complete strangers. I taught a class this weekend. I had this wonderful lady in my class who, in all my classes, actually, she was wonderful. And she was from another state, a couple states away, actually. And she had heard, not about me, but she had heard about Club Posh from her grooming clients. I don't know how they heard about me, but clearly I'm doing something impactful because I'm doing something that other people are not doing, or at least that other people are not talking about. They might be doing the exact same thing. In fact, there are other fear-free groomers in my city. There are other not fear-free, but stressless groomers that are basically doing what I'm doing, but they're not talking about it. They're not advocating. It's not becoming a generalized knowledge that like, this is the person to go to for XYZ. And you can take that as simple or expansive as you want. You can take it to be like, I'm the groomer that grooms puppies, like bring me all the puppies. Or I'm the groomer that, handles aggressive dogs, bring me those. So you can advocate in different ways, but really advocate, like just, I keep saying this word advocate, I'm like beating it to death, but it starts with us. It starts with each individual person and how we come off. And we are always, the universe has eyes and ears, and we are always portraying what we do, whether we're communicating or having a conversation about, yes, I'm a groomer and blah, 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 or if we're just being out and being social. People are watching, people will come to associate, especially if you're on social media. It's going to happen. So you want to make sure that you are, at least in the public, you don't have to be the same person behind closed doors all the time, but at least putting your best foot forward. And it's not to become paranoid, like everybody's always watching me, I have to be a certain way. It's not to take it to that extreme, but just be aware that, if you find something humorous and funny, but it's actually not good, like, don't get me wrong, old me would have laughed my ass off at this viral trend. I would have been like, ha, that's hilarious. I see what they're doing. I might feel a little bit like, oh, poor dog. Now that I know better, I see the humor in it. I see why people find it funny, but I'm taking opposite stance. So it's okay to evolve. We all should evolve. So there is that. Let's see. So there's professional advocacy. Then what are you doing? There's a saying, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And that's a really harsh pill to swallow. And especially if you like to take the stand back, like I'm Switzerland, I'm neutral, I'm not doing anything. So I'm not feeding into the problem. Yeah, but you're not helping fix it either. And it's that silent majority that lets the loud aggressors bulldoze. And that's not okay either. And it can be scary to take a stand and say something that goes against the grain, unpopular opinion, cancel culture, I'm going to get shut down. But every big movement, every change happens because a few small voices get together and get louder, and that builds confidence. I mean, I've posted things that I have taken down because in groups because of extreme negative feedback. I've posted in social media groups anonymously because I didn't want the extreme attacks. I've had other groomers, this is hilarious. I've had other groomers message me to let me know, hey, I liked your stuff only so that you know I'm watching you. Oh, I'm scared. Like, go ahead. If you want me and what I'm doing with my own business that's paying my bills, if you want to take up your free time with me and your brain while I'm over here living my life, go right ahead. I do not care. In fact, I pity you. Like, that sucks to hate on somebody so much that your thoughts and time are being consumed with that other person who doesn't even know you exist or doesn't care. Like, that's pretty sad. And you are letting that person that you don't want to win, you're letting them win because you're occupying their thoughts. So at least getting things out will help you stand up and be part of the solution, or at least get it out of your body, get it out of your psyche, get it adrenaline, whatever. I saw people, it's so funny because the way I run my business, my brand voice, which is how I communicate to clients, includes incorporating every type of paw, purr, bark, hound that I can. If I can change a word to make it up so that it kind of gets the point across, but uses those puns, I totally do. And I have seen groomers in local groomer groups use those to describe me while posting anonymously about things that they've seen that I do that I don't like. I want to talk about professional advocacy. If you feel an ugh about something you see, probably means that there's some part of you that feels called out. And we don't like being called out. And that is your call to action. That is your call to say, hey, I know they didn't specifically say me. I know they didn't say so-and-so is doing this, but if I feel called out, maybe that's because I don't like how they addressed a thing and I'm doing that thing. And maybe I should not do that thing. Maybe there should be a better way. And how many of us ever like being told that we needed to change something? If somebody directly tells you need to change this, it's probably not going to go over very well. In fact, we're likely to like dig our heels in and be like, oh, hell no, it's you that needs to change. So I saw people actually say that they did not attend a gigantic event that had hundreds of people there, numerous classes, well over 50 vendors, because little old me was there. They didn't have to go to my classes. They didn't have to go to my booth, but they straight up missed out on an event that was specifically put together by groomers for groomers who say that they want a better community, but then wrote in the same local community social media that they didn't attend because I was there. That's shooting yourself in the foot. That's cutting your nose off to spite your face. Like, that is holding yourself back because you have such a deep dislike or hatred. You are letting hate win. And history has shown anytime we let hate win, we all lose. So it can be scary to stand up and say something that goes against the grain, to say, hey, this trend, not okay. Hey, you know what? There's a bit of toxic environment in my salon. And we've all had those prima donna groomers that everyone kind of just bows down to, especially if the grooming salon is run by a non-groomer. And one groomer rules the roost, and they tend to not be super nice, and they tend to be very possessive about different things. I've worked at a salon like that. We all know who they are. It can be hard. It can be scary. Like in some unfortunate cases, it can cost you your job. In which case, I invite you to have the alternative standpoint of it is a blessing in disguise. One of my mantras is this or something better. I don't know everything. Whether you call it God, the universe, spirit, whether you want to believe in fate or not, whether you want to believe in preordained, uh, your destiny, anything like that, whether you want to believe it or not, I personally do. Life is always happening for you, not to you. And the sooner we can reframe our brain to see it that way, it gets a hell of a lot easier. Shit sandwiches at least taste a little less shitty. And what we train our brain to think and believe is what we actually see, feel, and experience. So when we're letting trauma and, it's like when we're letting rose colored glasses, we fall in love, we miss all those red flags, right? Because we're seeing it with a rosy lens. Everything's great. When we are feeling down and like, oh, when it rains, it pours, and this happens to me, we're seeing it with a shit lens. And we're more grumpy. We're more prone to see other things that might actually be nice in a negative light. And so when we train our brains to say, you know what, this sucked, I'm going to allow myself a little bit of time to feel that and emote that and get it out of my system because I don't want to hold on and repress. Like, that's fine. But then, okay, this happened for me because I'm not meant to live a craptastic life. I'm meant to live an awesome life. And I'm feeling held down or repressed or not okay. What is that my invitation for? What good is going to come out of it? And it's not to put on those rose colored glasses and pretend. It is purely to help shift your focus of this didn't work out, so there must be something better for me. I have no idea what that is, but I've got a choice. I can choose to be miserable or I can choose to be optimistic. And again, like with everything, there's a pendulum swing and there can be toxic positivity. If you have questions about that, let me know. It's not what I want to get into with this post, but suffice it to say that there's a healthy balance in there of being realistic, but also open to this or something better, because I don't have all the answers, but that does. And it's clearly got something good in store. It's like the lucky keep getting luckier, the rich keep getting richer. It's because they've trained their brains to observe and view something at a particular expectation, which enables them, if we want to get deep into energy, it does raise the vibration, and energy like matches like. That's a whole deeper conversation. The point of this whole tangent is it can be scary to stand up against the grain and say, hey, that video's not okay. But it's a lot less scary when it's on social media. We're all like social media warriors and we're like, because they can't call me out. And especially if we see that, it's going to gain momentum. Hate gains momentum faster than positivity. It sucks. It's literally low hanging fruit. You talk about energetic vibrations. It's low. It's accessible. You can just quick grab that, no problem. And when I talk energy, it's been measured by science. There are so many studies out there. It's megahertz, I think, is for like sound frequencies and vibrations, and thoughts have been measured. Organic things have been measured. Inorganic things have been measured. Everything emits a vibration. And those of joy, positivity, bliss, optimism, those have a higher frequency, megahertz or megawatts or whatever, than lower. Sad, despair, fear. And it's just as contagious. There's just not as many people operating at that higher level. So you might be that small voice that goes against the grain and advocates and says, actually, this is not okay. It will build momentum as long as you have faith in your own convictions. Sales. People buy, mostly, not just women, we buy from emotions. We like to give business to people we like. We like working with people we like, right? So One of the things I learned early on in sales is enthusiasm is contagious. And I've had so many people buy things from me back in the day when I was purely just doing sales, not in grooming at all, because they're like, I like your moxie. I've had people come up to me when I was doing promotional events. I have no idea what you're selling, but I like your attitude. Tell me what you're selling. I want to listen. Or you are so, just because you're so passionate about this, I want in. Like you sold me on that. So conviction, again, going back to professional advocacy, if you really believe in what you're doing, if you really believe, yeah, if you really believe in what you're doing, if you believe in your cause, if you really believe in something, even if you don't know all the answers, that enthusiasm, that faith, that passion is contagious. And as opposed to flying off the handle as a keyboard warrior, but really being considerate about the words you're using, whether you're speaking or writing or texting, big time, being conscious about how you're crafting your words. I love the saying, something along the lines of be careful about your word. Words are magic. That's why it's called spelling. I love that. So consciously crafting your responses and saying them in an educated manner using facts, which in this day and age, we've forgotten what a fact actually is. And we just take so many opinions, or I've seen it everywhere, so it must be a fact. No, it is a fact that you have seen it all over the place. It is not a fact in and of itself. And we forget that. And using those to back up your reasoning. One of the things I teach in my communications class is there are a few things that no rational, that's the key word. There's a lot of irrational people out there, and sometimes they're just hangry and then they'll calm down and they'll be rational later, but no rational person can dispute. And one of those things are facts. It is a scientific fact that your dog has a pH level lower than a human's. That is a scientific fact. So therefore, it is a fact that we should not be using human-based products on the dogs because it will throw off their pH level because it's not formulated for that. That is a fact. Irrational people are going to be like, well, I use it all the time and my dog's fine. Okay, you're in denial and you're not listening to facts, and a fact is a fact. It's irrefutable. So it is what it is. So using that can help. Crafting your responses, either journaling or in your notes section of your phone before you actually put them out is also helpful. And there's this little thing called Google that you can research something and don't take the AI answer as the true factual answer. Dig deeper, find reputable sources like the AKC or what is it? VAA, Veterinary Association of America, something like that. That's fact-based, research-based, and educate yourself. And then go ahead and have your response. The point is, when you advocate for yourself and your opinion and your thought with these facts, you sound a lot more knowledgeable, you gain respect, and anybody else who's eating popcorn watching this shenanigans go down, they can clearly see who's reasonable, who's not. And it can feel scary, but I want you to know that that is solace, and we see you. Again, the universe has eyes. We know who's out there just crying to everybody and trying to get attention, or we know who the haters are, and hurt people. So sorry you don't like that, or whatever is going on. So all of this to say, the next time you see a viral trend like the one that's happening right now with the dogs and the blow dryer and the passing the mic, don't be afraid to stand up and say, this actually isn't cool. Or not just that, anything that you see out there. You see a groomer that is, being too forceful with a dog, or you see a pet parent who is bitching because they, shaved a dog that they didn't think had to be shaved. If you feel the need to comment, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So don't go in so aggressively, but you also catch clients with professional advocacy, with backing up with facts. There's a reason I was featured in Reader's Digest. There's a reason that I was called to local news as a pet expert when it came to pet viruses in the grooming community and what we can do to keep our pets safe. There's a reason that these large organizations are asking me to speak and educate. I'm backing myself up. I am coming to them with passion and conviction in I know what I know. I know that there's a lot that I don't know, and I'm willing to go out and do the research and figure it out. And I'm absolutely all about doing that to push forward for everyone's betterment, because if one person's better, we're all better for it. We really don't have anything to lose. And the people who think that we do are the ones with the shit glasses on, the shit lens. And hey, here's your invitation to take that off. No, I'm not trying to be your enemy. I want you to do better. I want you to succeed. When I played sports, soccer was my jam. And then I ended up playing a roller derby semi-professionally. I was sponsored. It was fantastic, lots of fun. And I've always been a competitive person. That goes back to some deep-seated issues where I felt like I had to earn my mom's trust and love, and I was never good enough. And I didn't realize that I was never good enough for me. So I thought. I didn't realize I had deeper-seated issues. I digress. Point being, I've always been, let me do better. And then at a certain point in life as a teenager, it shifted to not only did I want to be better than everybody else because I had that competitive quality, but then it was like, I want you to be better. And it was selfish. I wanted other people to do better because I wanted to push myself to a higher level. I wanted a higher level of competition so that it would push me, which in effect, even though it was for a selfish reason, helps us grow together. Because they're trying to be better than me and I'm trying to be better than them. And in a healthy concept, it wasn't always healthy, and it's usually not. And sometimes it's not healthy on both sides. But in a healthy concept, we're doing it for selfish reasons, but we're also lifting each other up. It got to the point in my roller derby career where I was teaching and taking extra time to practice with other teammates and other people from other teams. They asked me, they're like, hey, you're really good at this. And I love that. Like, I thought we need to do more of that. Like, hey, you're really great at this type of groom or this. Can you teach me? And we need to be more receptive to that. And shouldn't have this shame of like, oh, well, you don't know. Like, if you don't have time, totally get it, respect. But, or if you don't have interest, also totally get it, respect. But to shame somebody because they're asking a question, I hated that. I was the girl with my hand up all the time in high school. And people would be like, oh God, here we go again. You know what? Half the time I was asking questions that they also wanted to know, but they were too afraid to ask. And if I hadn't, they wouldn't know, or they'd still be confused. But they never had the guts to say anything. So one thing I will pat myself on the back for, I've never been afraid to go for what I want and ask the questions, make sure I understand. Because at the end of the day, I'm the only one living my life. I'm the only one making sure I'm okay. Well, that's not true. I have a wonderful partner now, but at the end of the day, you only have yourself, really, when everything else is stripped down and taken care of. I will gladly champion for others to ask on their behalf. That is why this podcast exists. That is why I speak. That is why I coach. And I totally lost my train of thought on that one. Suffice it to say, there are lots of people out there willing to help and push the envelope and be better. And it's your invitation to find your tribe. Surround yourself with those people and fight for what you're passionate about. And if you're not really sure what you're passionate about, go find it. Ask questions. You'll figure it out as you grow. That's life. That's being human, is growing and experiencing. And the more we can come together, the better. So if you're in New York City, you'll appreciate this. I say it a lot. It's on like all the subways, New York City, safety, police put it out there. If you see something, say something. No, really. It shouldn't just be related to crime, or New York City subway. It should be everywhere. Like if you see something that's not okay, say something. And if you're not sure who to say it to, you can ask around quietly. There's plenty of us that are out there willing to say something for you. But never be afraid to speak up for what you either know in your heart or your gut that just doesn't feel right. And if you're triggered by something that a groomer is saying or doing, maybe journal it out. Unless they're like blatantly doing something that is like physically harmful, absolutely totally mean or cruel or anything like that, then absolutely feel free to call them out. But if you're like, man, she's doing something and it pissed me off and I don't like the way she's handling her words, like in my case, is that an invitation that maybe you're doing something you shouldn't be doing? And maybe you're not. One of the great things of advice that I got from my personal mentor was in going through life, especially in disagreements. I mostly learned this for interactions with my significant other. But if someone is saying you, first off, those are attack words, and maybe they've got their own things going on and they're projecting, which often we project. We put our feelings onto somebody else and say that they're saying this and they're doing this and they're feeling this. And it's because we haven't allowed ourselves to see it ourselves, or we have, but we don't want to admit it. But when somebody is projecting, it's really an invitation to say, let me take a moment and do some personal development. Is this true? Am I actually being a bitch today? Yeah, you know what? I could have said that in a nicer way. You know what? I'll own that. I apologize and I will work on that. I should not have used that tone with you, or I shouldn't have just immediately attacked you for that. You know what? I was being bitchy. Am I a horrible, awful person also, like you said? No. No, I know in my heart I'm a good person. So it's basically taking what is, filtering it. Pretend like it's a sieve, a funnel, or like a colander. Keep what's actually true and use that to move yourself forward and do better and be better. And take what, you know what? And there's a fine line between denial and truth. And sometimes if we're so far in our own shit sandwich, denial can feel like truth. And it takes a lot of work. It sucks and it's not fun. And that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's hard and it's not pleasant to get over that. But really, anything that triggers you is always an invitation for growth. It's also an invitation to say, you know what? That's not a person. I don't want to be like that. Cool. Before I launched Club Posh, I worked for a company that was awful. And I'm grateful for the experience for many reasons. And one of those reasons is it showed me everything I don't want to be. Everything how I don't want to run my company. I learned from their mistakes and I learned from their successes too. I took what served me and I left what didn't. And so if you see something out there that triggers you in a way that is unsettling and you don't like and it's disturbing, and again, this isn't something that's like blatant abuse or completely unsafe or unethical. It's just something that you like didn't like the way they came across or said something or did something. That is your invitation for growth, to put it through a colander and see what's actually true that stays and what actually isn't true. And then you can change, and it's okay. At the end of the day, we all want to be our own best selves. We all want to live a good life. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want to make sure that our bills are paid. And one person succeeding at that does not take away from you or somebody else. We all have that ability. It's just how we show up, how we present ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we talk about ourselves, where our passion is. All of that matters. And so this is your invitation to Be better. Do better. Fight for what you believe in. Fight for yourself. Choose peace. Choose growth. Choose love. But really, yeah, choose love. So until next time, friends, have a good one and stop making those viral videos unless it's to educate how bad that is. And do it in a funny way. All right, take care.